Here's every way to get a black car on Rocket League. Rocket League are removing trading on the 5th of December, and if you didn't know that already, I'm sorry I had to break it to you. But because of this, a lot of the black car decals will be unattainable if you don't have them already. So this is your last chance to pick up those items. So now let me show you them. But first, thanks to RL Exchange for sponsoring this video. If you are in need of some delectable Rocket League items, look no further than RL Exchange. They provide the best prices, delivery and safety on your purchases on all platforms. And use code MULCH or the link in description for a discount at checkout. We're going to start off with my least favourite methods to get a black car and work our way up to those pristine decals that will give you a black car in game. And there's also a method at the end that might surprise you. The less preferred methods to get a black car. Now these are for every platform, so console, PC, whatever you're on. So one of the ways to do this is if you go to profile, you'll see this little club icon. Now for mine it says manage club because I'm in a club. You may not be in a club. If not, you can create one. It's free. And then you can edit team colors. Now this, I've set it to white here. But if we set it to black, now I have a black car. Pretty cool, right? But you will only be able to use this black car right here in club matches. Now, what this means, if you've never heard of this before, is that if you're in a club and your opponents are all in a different club, so let's say you're in a 2v2 game, you and your friend are in a club, both opponents are in the same different club, then they will have their team colors and you will have your team colors. So make sure you've got this black car colors selected, and then if you get into a club game, which is just random, it's just luck to get into them, it can be in any casual game mode, I believe, get in there and then you'll have yourself a nice black car. So that's cool, but I want a black car in games that aren't just casual. So the next method right here is that if you wanted a black car when you're playing against your friend, you can use the private match method here. So this would be the best method for any freestylers. If you're trying to get a cool clip in a black car, you can 1v1 your friend here. And again, go down to team settings, ignore Switzerland and Brazil. This is leftover from my Rocket League World Cup video. Check that out. And then you can select one of the teams have a black car. Maybe the other team can have a white car or something. And that will look pretty cool on your clip. Now, obviously, this one also has a downside, like the last method. But I promise you, as we go on, they're going to get better. So obviously, you can get all your friends in this private match, but you won't be able to use this in any competitive games. But one of the competitive ways to do this is through tournaments. Now, if you've never joined a tournament before, I'm going to join one here that I'm not actually going to play. And then if we click join, as you can see, it says home team. And along with that, we're provided with primary color and accent color. But we have the black option here, unlike if you were selecting a default car. Now, if I were to join this tournament, I would have a black car, and so would my teammates. So they are some great methods that work on every platform and will give you a nice black car, and I'd recommend that you do set those up if you would like a black car in those game modes. But what if you want a black car in competitive or just any game that you load into? Well, you can use decals to do this. Now, there are quite a lot of these, and I'll split them into two categories. We're going to start off with the esports decals and then the generic decals. By the way, I heard that when I say subscribe, the button does a little wobble. Let me know if that worked for you. And while you're looking at that button, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Go over to the esports section. You'll see all of these different continents. Now let's click on one. Let's go on Europe because I'm from Europe. And let's click on a team. Let's go for this one here, Moist Esports. They've actually got a kind of black decal here, this first one I've clicked on. Now, one of my personal favorites is the old NRG one. Now, I haven't seen what the current NRG one looks like. So let's look here. Where are NRG? There they are, right there. Do they have a black decal at the moment? Okay, it's more red than black. But if you do look through here, you'll find some pretty cool black ones. Just to show you, this is my personal favorite right here. This is an old one, so you can't get this one anymore. If you do look through all of the different esports teams, it's constantly changing. That's why I'm not going to give you like a definite list of which teams to use. It changes with each season. They all get new decals. But this one was one of my personal favorites, this NRG decal. I've got what you've all been waiting for. Some of the decals that you need to be buying before trading disappears. So I've lined up quite a lot of different decals here that you can have a look at and decide whether they're worth getting or not. Starting off with this WWE Roman Reigns. Now this one I believe was actually from the item shop. I've put sun damaged paint finish on both of these. So you can only select black for the primary. I believe it normally comes like this, but I've selected of course black for the secondary as well. See, if I go with sun damage, it just looks darker thicker. This is one of the darkest decals in the game, as it is one of the very small amounts that actually have a black primary, and it does look pretty cool. This is a very new one as well, so if you have missed this, I'm sure they'll be putting this back in the item shop. We then have one of my personal favorites, the Huntress. Now, by the way, just to let you guys know, I'm using a black Octane with black, unpainted Cristianos just for this setup, and I'm using a default Huntress here. So if I go into my decals, here you'll see it. Normal Huntress, it's a limited decal, tradable, very cheap, and these are the colors I've put. I've just put the darkest of like the purples here, which was just darkest one out of all of these, and then the secondary as black to hide this little inner neon glow. You can't change the paint finish on Huntress, but that doesn't matter, because I mean, look, it's basically a black car. This is personally one of my favorite ones, and the best thing about Huntress is it is not just available on Octane, it is available on lots of cars, and it also has another variant. So here is the Nitty Gritty Huntress. Now, I do believe this is limited to Fennec only. Please let me know if I'm wrong, but that's the only car that I could seem to find it for, and it is very similar to Huntress. The lines are a bit bolder. Maybe if you've got a color associated with yourself that you normally use, like I normally use one of these, I'm not sure which one it is for my decal because it matches my logo, then this one would be a great option. We then have the Noir Stormwatch. Now, this is interesting because Rocket League have released just a black and white version of a Stormwatch. Now, if you haven't seen Stormwatch before, let me just show it to you. It is a very cheap, here it is. It's a very cheap black market. Now, that is an interesting colorway. That actually looks pretty cool. I've never seen Stormwatch look that nice. But this is the one we care about, the Stormwatch right here, because it is black and white. And I hope they make more black and white versions of decals. They've done this with a black market, so I'd presume the rest would be with black markets. Imagine how cool this would look with a couple of those. Next, we have Fancy Formal, a classic. Now, the Fancy Formal is just a black decal. You cannot change the color or paint finish of, I believe. Nope. And it has a nice little tuxedo in here, so everybody knows how cool you are. Now, it's important that you don't get this confused with, I believe it's called Tinted Formal right here. Yes, this is the Tinted Formal, and it's the same as the Fancy Formal, but you can change the color, and you cannot set this one to black. So if you want the black car, you're going to need the Fancy Formal. And it is glossy. If you don't like the glossy look, you can't change the paint finish. That is the only thing I wish you could change, because bearing in mind it's not an animated decal, I don't see why they can't just let us change the paint finish here. It would look much better. And now Distortion. This one is very similar to Huntress in my eyes. I put them as basically the same decal. I think Distortion's a little bit messier. It's a little bit more abrasive with the distortion on the car. Bearing in mind, if the cars don't look fully black, it can just be due to the fact that I'm in this map, so you'll see some sort of reflections from the goals and the lights around the map. So that's why this car looks kind of blue. And then Dot Matrix, again, this one's very similar to that Huntress and Distortion. It's kind of got like an outline around a black car, but this one is a little bit thicker. But I actually really like Dot Matrix. I think I prefer it more to Distortion, because Distortion is just a bit messier. I would personally pick Huntress out of the three, but again, similar with the variation of the Huntress, where you can have that nice thicker border and add your own accent color. If that was something you were looking for, then Dot Matrix definitely fulfills those needs. Now to Stipplegate. Now, the reason I really like Stipplegate is because it's a black market. And some people want to have a black car, but you also want to have a car that's kind of show off, so you want to have a black market on your car. Now, Stipplegate has this really cool effect where the black is almost like void black. Now, again, because I'm in this map, you'll see some reflections off the top of the car that make it look more blue. And if you do want to pick this one up, I'd recommend you get it now, because you don't want to have to get this one. It will be in the item shop because it will be over 2,000 credits, whereas right now it's much cheaper than that. Now, this is an interesting one. This one's a lot newer. Now, it looks very purple, but when you go in game, this car just goes black. So it's animated. You can see it's got this matte black look with like some kind of Taurus or donut or whatever it is just moving about in the top of that right there. And then finally, we've got this one. Now, I know you may be looking at this and being like, come on, Mulchmite, what is this? This is not black. But this is one of the oldest methods in the game. You are an OG if you remember doing this to get a black car. This is the Monster Cat decal. Everybody has this. If you don't have the Monster Cat decal in your inventory, I don't know what you've done wrong. But the addition with this is that we set everything to sun damage, and that is just to make the darkest color look as dark as possible. Looks quite bright if we set it to anything else. Where's glossy? It's a very shiny purple. Suddenly, it's like a dark navy blue. We've done the same with the black. Obviously, it doesn't make as much of a difference, but we still want to make it as dark as possible. Now, this, of course, is not fully black, but from some angles like this one, it is as dark as you're going to get without spending any credits to get yourself a nice decal. So they are all of the decals that you need to get now before trading has disappeared. But they are not the only methods. I have saved the best methods for last. So if you want your car to look like this, and I wouldn't blame you because this is the perfect black car, there are no issues with this, then, as you've probably guessed, you would need to use Backers Mod. Now, if you do not know what Backers Mod is, it is a client-side modification for Steam and Epic Games, so PC versions of Rocket League. If you don't know what client-side means, let me just explain this because I've had quite a lot of questions about this when I spoke about it previously. If I make my car black on Rocket League like this, and I invite my friend into my game, my friend will just see my car as it was before, so they will see this default purple car, whereas I will see this. Now, there are lots of good features about Backers Mod, but we are interested in the item mods. So once you've downloaded Backers Mod by using this video on screen here, linked in the description on how to get it, you want to press F2 in game, and then press Enable Item Mods, and make sure you press Override Car Colors. Here you have an entire color picker right here, and you're going to select the blackest black for the primary and secondary, but that doesn't even matter because I haven't got any decals on. But if we've got any decal, this should work for, because it will completely override it. Wait, why do I really like that? But here's my normal decal that I use, Luster. I really like this one. It has a subtle little wave over it that you wouldn't even notice in game. So the next PC exclusive method also involves Backers Mod, but it involves you go over to the plugins tab and install Alpha Console. Because if you install Alpha Console and go to cosmetics, you can have custom decals. Now, I've got a few that I made for my Rocket League World Cup. Now, I'm aware this is not a black decal, but you can make yourself a black decal. This is just one that I made for the Rocket League World Cup, and this is an Argentina decal. I mean, I've got this one here. This is the Belgian one. It's got slight black here around the car, but you can make this whatever you want. If you want to find out how to make your own custom decals and install Alpha Console, guess what? Obviously, I've already got videos on how to do it. So those are all of the current and updated methods of how to get a black car in Rocket League. But wait, I said there was a secret method, and there is. And the reason this method might surprise you and it's so secret is because it's not even on Rocket League. Now, before you get confused, just look at this. Wait, if you go on Sideswipe and go to Garage and then Edit Loadout and to the Paint bucket, you can see I've set my home colors as both black. You just select any color really here and then put the brightness all the way down and then saturation all the way up. And you can get yourself either a fully black or fully white car.